Why am I trusting people or my job or my money or this bottle of alcohol to be provident, to be able to change my circumstances when I have a God who has always and will always have power over time to do the same?
We are breaking down Holier Than Thou with Jackie Hill Perry. Jackie, you have a gift of communication. It's clear. This is a very interesting book. And for those that just tuned in, why did you write it briefly? What's the point?
We need God, man. And I think we need a doctrinal view and understanding of God that is rooted in the scriptures, not in the culture's definition of God, not in our trials in the way they want to define God, not in what TikTok has to say, but what does the Bible say? Yeah. What does the Holy Ghost illuminated? What does Jesus revealed? That's why.
Okay. All right. We may stick in this chapter for a while. This one, chapter 4.
Oh, idolatry.
Idolatry.
Yippee.
Why don't you start by just telling us what you're trying to convey inside of this chapter, and then I've got a few things underlined here.
So idolatry, I got this definition from Tim Keller. Okay. He said idolatry is when you give anything other than God your functional trust. And so that already kind of shows us that idolatry is not simply going up to a statue and bowing down to it. It's simply looking to anything to be what it cannot be, looking to anything to be God for you. Now, if the whole premise of the book is that God is holy, then what I'm trying to investigate and show is that there is an expectation that we place on our idols to be holy like God, meaning be good to us.
Yeah.
That's holiness. Be sovereign for us, be faithful to us, be honest with us. But our idols are incapable of doing that. Why? Because our idols are insufficient to be God. Yeah. So that's kind of the baseline.
A good friend of mine said one time, when I looked at my friend, I said, man, looks like you've, kind of trimmed down. And he said, food is not my friend. And that's what I'm going to live my life as. A lot of people, could say food's my friend, gossip's my friend. There's a lot of things that we want to elevate to something. I love what you just said, that will be good to us, and, I mean, the whole Old Testament is this study in what happens when you look to something that doesn't have any power. The whole Old Testament is kind of this chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in looking away from God and trying to find something. Okay. I just underlined this. So that's the chapter. But truly, in this city, they were gathered together against your holy servants, Jesus, whom you anointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate, along with the Gentiles and the peoples of Israel, to do whatever your hand and your plan has predestined to take place. That's Acts 4. Okay. Basically, in the chapter of idolatry, you're giving this whole big chunk, the whole first part of it is basically in the Old Testament. Fast forward to Christ, whom from a human perspective might have looked like a victim and who would succumb to the power and might of the Jewish leaders. However, the circumstances to which they navigated and curated weren't without God's sovereign knowledge or allowance. Peter reminded us of how God used wicked people to accomplish his purpose. Truly, in this city, they were gathered together against your holy servant Jesus, to whom you anointed both Herod and Pontius Pilate, along with the Gentiles and the peoples of Israel, to do whatever your hand and your plan had predestined to take in place. Yeah. So you're talking about really the sovereignty of the issue. Jesus didn't primarily fall victim to the schemes of an evil government. Instead, he was a willing participant in the plot of God ordained before the world was even formed.
I think the argument I was trying to make is the original conversation on idolatry is me pulling from Exodus 32 when Israel created the golden calf and how there was this desire for the golden calf to go before them, but how the golden calf was limited, one, because it couldn't even move without their help. But not only that, it was ignorant of their circumstances and also incapable of changing them. But when you think about God, the fact that he exists outside of time, that means he's able to utilize all of our circumstances, not only for our good, but for his glory. In the same way, when we look at Jesus, is that he laid down his life. They thought they were putting him up to be crucified. They thought they were having the victory, but he had the victory the whole time. Why? Because God is provident over all that happens in the sun. Over all that happens under the sun. And so I think that's just a really helpful way to see, like, man, why am I trusting people or my job or my money or this bottle of alcohol to be provident, to be able to change my circumstances when I have a God who has always and will always have power over time to do the same?
I think one of the things also in this chapter that is so provocative is you're talking about whether you can see it now or not. They couldn't see it. It's like somebody just really took Jesus and derailed what his mission was. And the sovereignty of God is so much bigger than what we can understand in our lives.
Yeah.
Okay. Still in the same chapter, idolatry.
You like this chapter?
Yeah. What might have been Baal once is now, in this 2022, sexual identity, sex, autonomy, intellect, relationships, money, marriage, legalism, politics, power, ethnicity, food, social media, children, or whatever other made thing you can think of.
Mm-hmm. Boy. I say that because I think when we read the Old Testament, it's so easy for us to not see ourselves in it because of the statues. Oh, they're worshiping Asheroth. They have a golden calf. They're worshiping Baal. I don't got no statues in my house. I'm all right. But Paul even says that covetousness is idolatry, meaning you can idolize anything. But the scary part is most of our idols are good gifts. Because even in Exodus 32, they give Aaron some gold earrings out of their ears to make the golden calf. But if you go backwards to Exodus 3, the gold earrings that they were given were a gift because of the kindness and favor of God, that he gave them favor so that the Egyptians, when they asked for some gold, the Egyptians gave them to them. So they take a gift that God has given out of his generosity and make a fake God out of it. And we do the same thing.
Hello.
We take our jobs, we take our children, we take our marriage, we take our body, we take all the things that God has given us for glory and for worship, and we make a God out of it. And so that's the tension, is how do we live this life with all of these good gifts and treat them as gifts, but not the source?